Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you joined us today, whatever platform you're watching this on, and whenever you're watching this. Today, I have from The Confession, and you. This week, I've been releasing several people from the Confession, the musical, and today I have another one. She played one of the lead roles of this movie. What a wonderful role, and she just did such a great job. I have actress and singer. What a voice as well. Caroline Clay, welcome to Morning Moments.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for having me.
We really enjoyed. My wife and I went to the movie and really enjoyed it. And like I said, I've interviewed several people from the musical, and what a delight. So, explain to me, what do you do, and why do you do it?
So, I am a performance artist, actor, singer, just like you already know. And I'm also a visual artist. I'm a painter and I make art. And that's what I've done not only my entire professional career, but that's what I knew I wanted to do even before I got into the real world. Always knew this was my calling. This is my passion. This is what the Lord has willed me to do. Both sides of the arts, performance art and making visual art. So I feel really lucky to get to experience the best of both worlds on the sides of the arts. And no one's ever asked me why do I do it before. I'm really honored that you asked me this question. And knowing your background in ministry and nursing and everything, I can understand why Andy, you might be a student of human behavior and might want to know people's motivations behind things a little bit better. And I can really respect that because that's kind of what we do as artists and actors as well. They're not such a far cry from each other. You know what I mean? It it really seems to me that I do what I do because makes it means a great deal to me to be able to create something that makes a difference to other people, to create a character, say like in the confession, the character of Katie, that tells a story that might move people. You know, I had people calling me after the confession premiered in theaters and they said, oh, that it made them cry, or that the scene between Liz and me, Liz, who played my real mother, you know, my birth mother, the song that we sing just made them cry. And that means so much to me. The fact that it moved them so much that the story and the characters made such a difference to them. On the other side of that, like I said, I'm a painter, I'm a visual artist, and to be able to create a painting or a piece of art that someone can look at and say, I want that in my home. This is beautiful to me. This is something I want to look at every day. That's why I do what I do. It means a lot to me to create something that makes a difference to the world and to other people. And I hope that that makes sense.
Yeah, and with theater, you get immediate feedback. So when you say something that's funny, you hear people laugh, they clap, you see the response. But the visual arts, you make whatever you make, and you don't see, unless you're in the gallery when they see the item for the first time. You don't get a chance to see that. So there's the differences of that immediate feedback, isn't there?
You're so right. And I think we as artists, we have to learn to not seek validation from others so much, but we have to feel confident in our work ourselves so that we can say, I feel confident in making this thing and it's what I am moved to make. And I'm not making it because I think other people will like it or I think other people will hate it or I think other people this is my art and this is what I'm inspired to do. And if it makes a difference to other people, then fabulous. But I'm not going to do it for them. I'm going to do it because it's my inspiration. It's what's in my heart.
That makes a perfect sense, because there's so many people today, especially generations of the social media. We didn't have this when I was a kid, but the validation, if it just, is somebody liking me, is somebody following me, is somebody doing, seeing what I'm doing, and people live for that rather than, are you fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing?
You're so right about that. Yeah. And I will say on the other side of that, social media has been a really great tool, I think, for artists as well to be able to connect with one another, to be inspired by each other's work. And as long as you don't get too bogged down in that, how many likes did I get on this? How many comments did I get on this? Then there's a right way to use it, I think, as an artist, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anything can be polluted, right? So,
Yes, depending on how you approach it. I
yeah.
firmly believe that.
Your role that you played with the Amish girl. Can you tell us about that role? Can you tell us about what it was like getting yourself in that position?
Yeah, Katie, she is a 20, I think 21 by the end of the show, year-old Amish girl who is really going through tragedy after tragedy, in her life. She is really experiencing some hardships. And I know that a lot of people watching the story will be able to relate to that. They may not relate so much to the Amish side of her, but it's something I love about the story is that you don't have to come in with any knowledge of the Amish way of life or Amish people to still be able to relate to these characters and to this story and to still be moved by what the narrative has to say. At least I felt that way as we were shooting it. I wanted to make sure, Andy, that I did this character justice because I knew it was an important story. I knew when I read the script that it was going to touch a lot of people's hearts. So I didn't want her to be any type of stereotype or caricature or something that other people might think the Amish people are. So what I did when I found out I was going to be playing a young Amish girl is I went to a tiny Amish bakery that was really close to the town where I grew up. I grew up in Greenup County, Kentucky, by the way, the far eastern point of Kentucky Appalachian Hills. And there's not a huge Amish population around there, but there is an Amish bakery just across the state line into Ohio. And I drove my little car over there with my daddy. And I went in, they were making donuts. I met some really nice Amish girls. And Sarah, the girl that I talked to, I explained to her who I was and what I was doing. And she was so happy to answer any question I had about her life, about growing, how an Amish girl might interact with her family or what she might wear or what the courting process might be when she's starting to look for a husband, things that I really wanted to know and I wanted to get correct, so that I could properly tell their story. And I think that I did. There is some question of, and I had to have several conversations too with Martha, our director, our stage director, Martha, about, a real Amish girl, she wouldn't raise her voice usually. And yet on the stage, we're constantly having to project our voices and to speak very clearly so that we can be heard and understood with our microphones on. You'll notice in the confession we're wearing microphones on our faces. Well, that's because it was filmed live on stage. So, it's that line of how far do I go? Real Amish girls, most of them speak with a German or Dutch accent. And do I speak on stage as Katie with a German or Dutch accent? Will that make the audience, difficult to understand me? I'm not sure. So it's several conversations back and forth of how do we merge the two worlds, live theater and film, also with being authentically Amish, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. And I really tried to get it right, and I hope that I did.
And when I talked to the writer, that Martha Bolton, that when I interviewed her, there was three books that was turned into one musical. So
Yes.
it wasn't like it was an easy transition from book to screenplay, because
No,
the story could have gone on 6 or 7 hours on stage if she did the three books.
you're
uh,
so right. And we were already 3 hours. We had we had no more time.
yes. And my wife kept going, how long is this play? I said, I don't know. It was really, even the movie. Prepare yourself, folks. One thing nice about watching the movie streaming, you can turn it off and take a break, and come back. Versus,
Yes.
yeah. So
And we give you an intermission right in the middle, a 15-minute intermission that if you
yeah,
want to get up and use the restroom and get a
yeah.
snack, you can do that.
Really makes you feel like you're in a theater too, doesn't it?
I felt that way watching it at the movies.
Yeah. I mean, even when we're watching at home now that's being streamed, it's going to
Oh,
feel like
that's
that way
right.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That
Yeah.
authentic theatrical experience.
Yeah. Great. The message that there's a second chance. There's a way to look, and there's hope, even though things may be bleak. There is second chance for us, and that there was some great messages through that movie. And if you haven't seen it in the theaters, it was only there one day, folks. It was only there one day. Please, please, please go check it out in the streaming now. It's going to be in several places. And we believe the distribution of this is not just going to be one source, it'll be different places as well. And so at the filming of this, they're still working out dates and who's going to get it. But just like when something's released, we just believe and pray that it'll be seen on several different platforms. And any closing thoughts that you have about the, anything that you want to share before we close?
Well, that I really appreciate you having me on, and I hope I answered your questions thoroughly. I really appreciate you promoting the confession so well. I think, like you said, the message of uh, feeling lost and then being found, the message of second chances is something everybody needs right now, especially since the pandemic. It's very easy to feel lost in this big crazy world, but hopefully watching the confession you will realize that even though you could be in the trenches and you could be in the valley, it there is always another tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is always hope for the future. I hope everybody feels that way.
As we close this interview, I'm going to ask you to do something that I always ask all my guests. As we close today, I'd like for you to spend a few minutes and pray for Caroline. Pray that she would continue to be that light, and not just on stage, behind the camera, but that she would be inspired by her hands of her creativity, and that she could continue the art on and off stage, and that she would just could continue to be a blessing in everything that she does. Pray for her and her soon to be husband. I say that there she's got to show that ring there, doesn't she? And that pray that God would just be with them in this time together as they prepare a life together. And let's just pray for them. Carolyn needs your prayers, folks. You needed the practice, so pray that things would continue to be great for them. Thank you so much for joining us, Caroline. We're gonna keep an eye on you. I know that God's got great and mighty things for you as in the future. And pass this interview on. Go see the confession, and thank you for joining us for more morning moments. And if you would keep coming back, and may God richly bless you.